T.I. and Tiny, real names Clifford Joseph Harris Jr. and Tameka Cottle, are probably familiar to most people thanks to their reality show and a few hit singles featured over the years. There have also been a couple of controversies spanning the course of their careers. While these have been pretty big deals, they don't quite measure up to what the two of them have been accused of together. We'll give a quick rundown of some of the stuff T.I. has gotten up to in the past, but after that, we gotta get into the meat of the situation. Before we get into that though, we gotta get something out of the way. We're gonna give out a trigger warning because some of the mess we're gonna get into here today is pretty heavy stuff. Trafficking harm and pretty much any variation thereof can be expected going forward. While the allegations are just allegations at this point, we gotta point out that they're pretty intense. Tiny and T.I. have been accused of violating over 30 accusers at this point, and it seems that the claims might not be slowing down anytime soon. Before we jump into all that, we're gonna get into some of T.I.'s controversies from earlier. He's had a few rap beefs before with people like Ludacris, Lil Flip, and Shawty Lo. Some of these unfortunately turned physical on occasion too. That's really not the part that's going to inform our decision about the situation later on though. There are also a few charges that T.I. has been hit with. 2 of them have been for weapons, a couple for substances, and hanging out with a convicted felon during probation. In 2010, both T.I. and Tiny were sentenced to spend 11 months in jail as a result of possession charges, in addition to testing positive for a few things. Now that we've been over some of the basics involving their pasts, we're about to hop into some of the most recent trouble they're finding themselves in now. It all started, at least publicly, when someone who was close to T.I. and Tiny decided to come out and speak on the issue during January of 2021. Sabrina Peterson, someone who had been a close friend to the couple and used to think of T.I. as the uncle to her children. At first, she said this in a statement on her Instagram page at the Glam University. The sad part about being a woman and being a black woman is this. The public praises us at Troubleman31, who is T.I. You put a gun to my head in front of children and I never called the police on you. But for years you have painted me as the villain as black women. It's hard to heal from rape, violence, or anything because you are painted as the problem or reason that this has happened to you. Let's normalize the allowing of black women to heal. It's so hard being the victim of rape and being painted as the reason it happened. Let's talk at Keisha Bottoms. You can't have a person that has victimized women speak for us. Let us have a real talk. Now, this is a lot of information to process all at once, so we're gonna unpack this mess right quick. Sabrina is essentially claiming that T.I. put a gun to her head, has been mistreating women, and gaslights the women he mistreats into thinking it's their fault. Obviously, the duo wasn't about to let these allegations fly, so Tiny shot back. She took to the comments of the Instagram post to say, "Hold up, so you want your abuser to train your sons? He was just uncle 2 years ago. Now when did you say my husband assaulted you? Did you change your mind or change it back? What with you today, Pooh? I'm confused. Stop harassing my family. You strange. Everybody know you been special, face slicing seminar lady. Please get help, but leave us alone." T.I. also spoke on the issue on January 29th of 2021, deciding that he needed to go public to defend himself. He got on Insta and said the following.
"Whatever we ever have done has been done with consensual adults who into what we into and like what we like. If we want something, we know exactly where to go to get it. We ain't never forced nobody. We ain't never nobody against their will. We ain't never held nobody against their will. We ain't never made nobody do anything. We ain't never trafficked anything. Well, sexually trafficked anything. I ain't never nobody. Never nobody."
The situation would only blow up. His statements didn't quite serve to help the couple out very much. Now, this is just where the trouble begins. There's tons of moving parts. Obviously, someone has to be making stuff up, but, like who? Another part of the equation is that T.I. and Tiny are in an open relationship. They haven't exactly copped to that claim, but there are a few videos that hint at this. One of them is when Nicole Scherzinger, who was on the song Whatever You Like with T.I., admitted that she had been invited over for dinner with the couple. Everyone on the show gave knowing glances, and I bet he did. This doesn't mean that anything they do is non-consensual, and so long as everyone's up for it, who cares what they do in the privacy of their crib, right? One thing that kind of throws a wrench into the works here, though, is that there have also been rumors of a falling out between the couple and Sabrina are due to a different cause. People have claimed that Sabrina could just be a spurned lover and that T.I. and Tiny are done with her, and that means Sabrina's gonna try and come for her career. There's probably reason to believe Sabrina was involved with the couple romantically, but who's to say that part was consensual? From what she's claiming, it wasn't. There's also the talk of people who are involved in those kinds of situations with them only ever being there when substances are involved, which is pretty weird. While T.I. and Tiny are innocent until proven guilty, it seems a little strange that so many people would come out about this if nothing was up, If nothing else had come up, we could maybe just write this off. Unfortunately, that's not the case, and one lawyer in specific has come forward with allegations from over 10 women. T.I. also came out in a video telling Rob Kardashian not to speak so much on his breakup with his ex-girl, Blac Chyna. In response, Rob called him out for getting into some business with Blac Chyna himself. Since T.I. want to chime in on business that don't concern him, let's talk about the threesome you had with Chyna and your baby mama Tiny. Don't speak on my daughter when you having threesomes with young Chyna and Tiny, and I put that on my daughter's life since you want to speak on my daughter. Damn shame. Chyna told me everything about your threesomes with you and her and Tiny. You got no moves, bro. Correction. T.I. paid Chyna to have sex with Tiny and him. Ooh. Now, once again, if T.I. wants to get into all that and is consensual, it really doesn't matter. But we're about to get into why things might not be as chill as T.I. and Tiny are trying to play. As of March 2021, there are 30 women who have come out with allegations against T.I. and Tiny, and one man. Most of the accusers are anonymous for now, but of course they are. Until an investigation and a trial happens, it really doesn't matter who the accusers are. If they come out and reveal their names, it's likely that the PR team working for T.I. and Tiny, as well as their lawyer, would probably do their best to make the victims look bad. This just tends to happen in these kinds of cases, really. The lawyer representing a lot of the accusers is named Tyrone A. Blackburn, and he's taking on about 13 clients. Blackburn said speaking with investigators from multiple jurisdictions to pursue criminal charges after 3 new people came out. Most of the women claimed that they were given substances without their consent, and then after that, T.I. would take advantage of them after they were too messed up to say no. One woman even claims that after she had some pills slipped to her, she was trafficked in 3 different states: Nevada, California, and Florida. Jesus Christ. The lawyer for the couple, Steve Sadow, also released a statement on what he thought of the claims in response to Blackburn speaking up, saying, "The Harrises are still waiting for the accusers to reveal themselves publicly. By continuing to hide behind anonymous allegations, the unnamed accusers effectively render themselves not credible and unworthy of belief. We say, let the light shine on their identity so we can go about disproving these baseless accusations." He also said they deny in the strongest possible terms these baseless and unjustified allegations, deciding that they were, quote, nothing more than the continuation of a sordid shakedown campaign that began on social media and now attempts to manipulate the press and misuse the justice system. While it makes sense that he, T.I., and Tiny would be a little shook about the whole situation, but he's coming in hot. This seems just a little sus, you know what I mean? Even before he knows who the witnesses are, he's already defaming them just because they're scared, having trouble processing what happened, unable to come to grips with it. It's honestly wild that he'd go ahead and say some stuff like that before an investigation has even started. If he has a time and a place for the accusations, if it didn't happen, he should be able to prove with an alibi, right? You don't need a name for that. It takes a lot mentally to make these kind of accusations in the first place. So why is it okay for people to ask them to come out completely publicly? Now, maybe, just maybe, there's a bit of a case for saying that Sabrina might have some ulterior motives, but that doesn't mean that nearly 30 other people were lying. Not only that, but dude coming right out the gate with this kind of energy just doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't really feel like a good look. Blackburn also said these criminal allegations span over 15 years of methodical, sadistic harm against women in various venues throughout the country. These individual claims paint eerily consistent allegations of women prior to or upon immediately entering the Harris' hotel, home, or tour bus, who were coerced by Tiny to ingest drugs or unknowingly administered drugs to impair the victim's ability to consent to subsequent vile sexual acts. The accusations date around 2005 at the earliest. Because all of this is going down, T.I. and Tiny had their long-running reality show T.I. and Tiny, Friends and Family Hustle, put on hiatus. They've had TV shows on and off pretty much since the early 2000s, but it's likely we won't see them again on TV for a while. There's been no word from the network on when it'll resume, but there's a good chance it's pretty much done. As we've said before, Tiny and T.I. are innocent until proven guilty. But we also can't sit here and act like the accusers are making everything up. There's a lot riding on this whole thing for T.I. and Tiny, so it would make sense for them to be upset if it weren't true. That being said, around 30 witnesses probably aren't just faking it, right? Like for clout or whatever else, because people might think they could be up to it. Only time can tell who's capping and who's not. But y'all let us know what you think in the comments down below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And hey, as always, keep it Rizzle.